All right, everyone. The other day, an article was written in The Guardian by Julia Ebner, who's like, does like monitoring online hate and stuff like that. Sort of like the Holt style of writing, as it were. Maybe a little bit less vicious, ultimately, but it's quite funny. Apparently also follows me on Twitter, which I'm like, oh, I wonder why this person is following me. Probably for reasons related to writing smear pieces in the future, so maybe I should block them, but I don't really believe in that. This article is reprehensible, and there's one line in it specifically that stood out to me, which is, as you may know, I'm the largest user on Bitchute. I'm one of the larger users on Gab. I have, between those two, we're talking tens of thousands of people. Minds.com, I think I just hit 27,000 people following me there on the other day, actually. Here's the thing. This article literally makes the claim in this one passage. It claims that primarily, Gab and Bitchute specifically are being mentioned here, primarily those sites have attracted extremists like neo-Nazis and conspiracy theorists. So if you're one of the 32,000+ people on Bitchute following me, there's a better than 50-50 chance, according to this particular individual in this Guardian opinion piece, that you are either a Nazi or a tinfoil hat wearer. Now, better than 50-50 chance. Most of my audience on these platforms is hateful or crazy. The term conspiracy theorist shouldn't even be used because it has no use. Now, you were a conspiracy theorist until a few years ago if you suggested that the Gulf of Tonkin incident was misused to get us involved in Vietnam. Lo and behold, of course, we now know it's actually true. Declassified Pentagon reports state as much. There are plenty of situations in which the government or corporate groups act in a corrupt manner, and when you attempt to expose this or conjecture about it, you get labeled a conspiracy theorist. This used to be used a lot against people that were on the anti-war left, by the way, about 10 years ago. During the height of the Iraq War, back when I considered myself more of a liberal, and for that purpose, I guess, still am. It's just that the Democrats no longer are, I suppose, oddly enough. I used to get called a conspiracy theorist when I proclaimed the fact that those wars, they weren't actually meant to liberate the people of Iraq. I think there was a fiscal motivation behind it. Oh, that's just conspiracy theories. Now I'm saying that a bunch of for-profit corporate entities or groups tied with them that call themselves the mainstream media, that they are involved with similar behavior with regards to deplatforming. Now, there is a fundamentally flawed premise here. The premise that Gab and Bitchute are primarily hosting extremist content is totally false. I don't know how much time Miss Ebner decided to spend on these platforms before making that judgment, but I can guarantee it wasn't enough. Because these platforms fundamentally are much more libertarian and technocratic in a way. Computing Forever is on them. If you're proclaiming that Tim Pool and Computing Forever and Lionel Nation and some of these people are far-right, evil, extremist conspiracy theorists, I don't know exactly what happened to your brain. I don't know who told you so many lies that they actually stuck in your head or when it happened, but I feel pity for you. I feel pity because you've been essentially brainwashed by a bunch of corporations. Now, think about it this way, though. There's something more important here. Fundamentally, articles like this, smear pieces, which is what they are, written almost invariably by corporate media groups, imagine that. What they are fundamentally arguing for when they're saying Gab shouldn't be there, Bitchute shouldn't be there, Steemit and DTube and Minds and all, PewTube and all these others, Bit.video I think now and all these others, when they say that these sites shouldn't exist, they should be denied fiscal services, they should be deplatformed by registrars, they're dens of iniquity, they're wrong-thinking stuff. You are fundamentally arguing that the only groups attempting to make any form of competitive technological progress to mainstream Silicon Valley, you are essentially saying that that competition is bad, that certain opinions are so bad that even if it doesn't fall outside of US law, it should be prosecuted anyway in the court of corporate opinion, and that you have no problem. Here's what you're really saying. You don't have a problem with the concept that a half a dozen individuals, people like Mark Zuckerberg and Twitter's Jack, should be able at a moment's notice to fundamentally stop a person from, in the communication sense, existing at all. And that a few financial services, essentially another half dozen or so companies, should be able to prevent you from undergoing any form of commerce. That your opinions, once stated, can be that no crime was committed, you're not attempting to cause crime or anything, like you're not defaming anyone or doing illegal porn or something, based solely on your socio-political opinions, whatever they may be. It should be determined by essentially little oligarchic counters of groups of moderators on these mainstream sites that your opinion falls outside of the rules and so you should stop existing entirely. Literally Stalin style. You know, there was a time when this was done. It was done in the Soviet Union. If your opinion was wrong, the corporate media would get together and they would deperson you. You'd be scrubbed out of photographs in the archives like you never existed. The record of your birth doesn't exist. People would be called crazy if they even mentioned you in passing outside of the context of you having been a myth. This has been done before. Now, I understand, of course, this doesn't necessarily directly impact your real-life persona, your existence as compared to those directly in proximity around you. But it can rob you of a career. It can be defamatory. In some cases, the people being deplatformed are being defamed prior to it. Bitchute is being defamed by your very article. You're claiming that the majority of its users are extremists or conspiracy theorists. I'm its largest user. Now, if you think I fall under one of those two headings, I'd very much like to see your research on my long-term views. Is it fascistic that I want to end the drug war, or is it fascistic that I think government shouldn't purge people? The world may never know. I don't know. Now, I suppose that that's a far-right view now. If you believe that people should be able to air their grievances, should be able to speak, and that if you believe that it shouldn't be that 5 or 6 big corporations with more wealth than the robber barons 100 years ago ever could have possibly imagined, if you believe they shouldn't be able to determine what is or is not acceptable for the entire world to consume communications-wise, that makes you a Nazi or a conspiracy theorist. It's a conspiracy theory to suggest that people who have inordinate sums of money and want to keep making more inordinate sums of money might try to defame smaller upstart competitors with the label extremist haven, conspiracy theorist junction, in order to deplatform them so they don't have to compete with them on an even footing. Because they don't want to innovate. Facebook doesn't want to innovate. YouTube doesn't want to continue innovating. These sites no longer want to put resources into that. They want to have a bunch of bots moderate everything, and that's sort of the final innovation that they want to make. They want to have fewer people working for them and absorb more of the money and essentially control what people can say and what they can believe. That's fundamentally what you're talking about. Now, I understand, this individual, I believe, is in Germany, so they have maybe less overall appreciation for the concept, the finer concepts of free speech, because in Germany there is no such concept. I'm aware of that fact. Acutely, my channel's blocked in Germany on YouTube. But to say that the majority of my fan base on these sites is comprised of extremists, I think they might look askance to that label. I think you're getting it wrong. Also, you do realize, like they had one Kraut poll post there that was being talked about in German, so I don't know what it says. You appear to be taking seriously a bunch of LARPers, actually. You do realize that there are people who pretend to be like Nazis or communists or whatever in an anonymous fashion for meme purposes. You do realize that, right? That some of it is tongue-in-cheek. That some of it is humor, and in fact, some of it's self-deprecating. But if you don't have a sense of humor, I mean, I guess you wouldn't understand that. But yeah, this Guardian piece is a smear attack. And it's a preface. What these articles really are for is that they're an attempt to cause deplatforming. That's really what it's about. The reason why I'm using these platforms is because the mainstream platforms lost their appreciation for free expression, and I wanted to be able to follow the edgy people that had been kicked off those platforms that are not Nazis. They just make edgy or offensive humor. I still want to be able to absorb that material, and as a consumer, I think I have the right to do so. Who is Mark Zuckerberg to decide what I can or cannot consume as far as other people's content creation? And the other reason is really technological. That is that the older, like Facebook and Twitter, they no longer reliably notify people of my uploads. I'm primarily a video creator, so I mean, it's in my own self-interest to have a Bitchute account, to be on Gab and Minds. Why the hell would I not? I think it's crazy if you're a creator and you're not on these sites. You should be putting every available resource into spreading out onto these sites. So yeah, the article is flawed. The fundamental premise that there's actually a systemic problem with hateful behavior, credible threats, calls to violence, oh my god, intolerance and bigotry. No. There's no problem with that. And you didn't register that as a problem until after the 2016 election. All of a sudden you had a problem with it because corporations that were losing to the alternative media decided to aim their fire at the platforms they were using to replace existing technology and at the creators themselves for wrongthink. That's what it's about. It's about corporate control. It's about money. Some people still think it's about politics. Well, they're trying to erase, Trump fans before the midterms. No, they're not doing that. There are people on the left that are getting scrubbed off these sites. A bunch of progressive pages got purged off Facebook a few weeks ago. Progressives, they're not pro-Trump, they're anti-Trump. Groups like Cop Block and stuff also get targeted. I wonder why. I wonder why Democrats against ICE and stuff, stuff like that's getting kicked off. Why do you think? It's just an attempt to stop any independent, non-centrist behavior on these platforms. They want to sanitize them and make them boring. I don't want a boring internet, so I'm going to use alt-tech. And you're not going to be able to destroy alt-tech. The genie's out of the bottle already. It's a lot like the early 90s internet. Attempts to stop it will just make it stronger. Learn from history, learn from mistakes, and also, by the way, just as an aside, when corporations, like Facebook and Twitter, get too buddy-buddy with government power, when they begin interchanging power and favors, it usually precedes things like genocides, purges, and totalitarianism. You do realize that you're literally creating a nice little foundation for actual fascism. It doesn't exist yet. You're trying to create it to help promulgate it. You're trying to allow a half a dozen corporations, look up the definition of fascism sometime, decide what people can and can't believe in. Where's the anti-war rhetoric going to be? It'll get deplatformed. What about your socially progressive issues? Nope, they rock the boat. They're too out there. They're not allowed either. Oh, you believe in transgendered rights. Oh, well, we're not going to allow you on our platform. We find that offensive. Hey, it's a free market. Just build your own website. Oh, we deplatformed it. Oh, make your own payment platform to support an independent site. No, we deplatformed that too. The bank told you no. Can't get a loan. You can't buy a car. You can't even fucking go get groceries anymore because you'll have shit thrown at you and we'll have, the Gestapo come and beat you up. Antifa, basically. That's actually happening. It's very, very displeasing. It's the slow march towards tyranny. And it is the actual fascism of our age. Yeah, it's wrapped in a banner that says progressivism. That's just a shield that they're using. Don't let them fool you. It's all about corporate power. It's all about them wanting more power and more money for their corrupt rich buddies. That's about all. Peace out.